Perfect.
Ready? You good?
Ready.
Let's do it, man.
So
I think this
exciting.
is going to be the funniest one, to be fair.
Do you think so?
I think we're just going to end up. Guys, welcome to another episode of The Wedding Insider with me, Pop Out Presents, in association with Musical Movements. Today I have Shaileeni from Styled by Shaileeni, who also happens to be my cousin-in-law. So this is going to be really fun and really interesting chat. So I want to start from the beginning of how we got into wedding coordination. Like, chat to me about where it all came from.
Okay, so I actually knew I always wanted to be a wedding planner.
Okay.
So rewind to way back when. My dad comes from a family of 6 sisters.
Yes.
And they all have multiple children.
Okay.
And being the only boy in the family, he sort of had a duty of responsibility when they all started getting married.
Okay.
So I remember my first cousin got married when I think I was like 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah.
And I remember like going up to Leicester every weekend, helping with the planning and the organisation. Obviously, I wasn't doing it, but I would take such an interest in my dad's role within the wedding. And so I feel like every year or every other year we would have a close family wedding.
Okay.
And we always had like lots to do. And this is the times where, you know, we used to put up the mandap and we used to
do
cook
everything
at
ourselves.
home.
Yeah,
everything used to be done ourselves. And my dad was also a project manager in his work.
Yeah.
So he had a big role and I just absolutely loved getting involved and, you know, helping where I could from such a young age. Then, like, rewind to university, I then realised that I wanted to be a wedding planner.
Okay.
And I studied business management with marketing. And in my final year, I actually specialised in event management.
I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So you actually did that as your thing.
Yeah,
Fine.
so
okay,
I
cool.
specialised in event management. My dissertation was actually all around the O2, moving from the Millennium Dome as a government project to a multi-million pound events venue.
Events function venue, yeah.
So took a really keen interest in events, and as soon as I left uni, I started, you know, applying for roles in the events industry, wedding industry. And I actually found it really difficult to get my foot in because I was basically working for very little pay.
Yeah.
Some jobs I did with no pay.
Okay.
And
like internships or like
internships, training, shadowing, like whatever I could really.
And is it just because there were so many people trying to do the same thing, so it's really competitive, or there just wasn't space for people?
I think there just wasn't space, or like nobody was really taking me seriously at the time.
Okay.
Back then, it was 2013.
Yeah.
And the wedding industry was very male dominated.
Okay.
Very sort of elder Asian male dominated.
Okay, cool.
So being a young female coming into the industry, it wasn't the norm.
Okay.
It wasn't the norm back then. So I did some jobs where like I was actually paying to be there. I did one job at the Millbank Tower where I was the intern to the wedding planner there.
Okay.
And they used to pay me £50 a week, but my travel was £80 a week.
So you were making a loss.
So I was actually making a loss just to gain experience.
Yeah. And then how did you break into Hilton? And because you eventually did that whole thing.
So then what happened was London wasn't serving me for the events industry. I actually went to Leicester.
Which is where you were from originally.
Where I'm from originally.
Yeah.
And I got a job with a wedding planner there.
Okay.
Who was amazing. And I used to work with her basically Thursday to Sunday, you know, do the prep for the events, and then we would do the events over the weekends. She was a decor company and she would do coordination.
Okay.
And then I would come back to London on like a Monday, spend Monday to Wednesday
really,
back at home.
Back then as well, so it was more weekend driven than it is now. And now you can have a wedding on any day of the week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I did that for a summer period and then she couldn't afford to keep me on full time.
Okay.
So then I came back to London. And then that's when I landed a job with another decor company here.
Okay.
And I worked there for about 2 years.
And are these South Asian decor companies?
Yes,
yeah? Okay,
all
cool.
South Asian weddings.
Okay.
And then after a couple of years of working in the wedding industry, I used to, you know, the one up at 5 a.m., I used to be doing takedowns at 1 a.m. We
Oh,
used
God,
to do
okay.
we used to do events at Blenheim Palace, 700 people in that marquee there.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I got to a point where I was actually not enjoying it anymore.
Okay. What about it were you not enjoying?
I was physically
Yeah.
tired.
Yeah.
I used to load vans during the weekday. We used to build 7-foot trees. We would then be on early mornings, late nights, takedowns, setups. It was just like taking a physical toll on my body, but then it started to take a mental toll because I was the one missing out on family events on the weekend.
Right.
I was, my friends were all getting drunk on a Saturday night, but
And
I
you're
couldn't
working.
because I was working. So
Well, you're doing the physical intensive bit of the job as well. That's the
Yes.
thing there. So that's that. And I think what people don't realize, and it was part of the whole journey of creating this, is to put a human being behind what we do, because
Yeah.
it's like, I think a lot of couples, and it's, again, I always say it's not their fault. They have blinkers on. They've got this one project they're dealing with which is their wedding.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of emotions. They don't realize the person they're dealing with, this is their job. They're passionate about it, but they still go back to all of the other real life stuff. And it's
Yeah.
actually a really unsocial job. So for like Nanesh, when he was sitting here, it's like all of his weekends he's DJing.
Yeah.
And he's got 2 young kids, and that's just what he's doing.
Yeah.
And so it can be like,
it's
yeah.
very unsociable. And at the time I was, 22, 23 years
Yeah.
old, and it wasn't serving me in a way that I wanted it to. So I decided to take a turn.
Okay.
And that's when I decided to go into corporate events. And
Okay.
that's when I started working with Hilton.
Okay.
So I actually stumbled across Hilton. It wasn't something that I sort of went out and said, I'm going to work for Hilton Hotels. I stumbled across it first in a temp role, and then
Okay.
they took me on full time. And then it ended up being my dream job.
Yeah, you loved it.
I
You were
absolutely
at Hilton
loved it.
around the time that I met you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
7.5 years I was with Hilton.
Yeah.
It was my dream job. Like, I lived and breathed
Yeah.
the Hilton values.
What was it that you loved about it?
I think it was just every day was a new day, working in events, the people I worked with. Working in hospitality for me was just the right fit.
Okay.
I always knew that. And I think at the time I was too young to be in the wedding industry, straight out of uni.
Yeah.
And then going into the corporate side of events, I just felt like I was in my element, hosting familiarization trips with clients, and then running big events in
Yeah.
the hotels that I worked with, doing events, throughout Europe and traveling.
Well,
And
South Asian weddings, they're big on a scale in one sense, right? And then the whole hospitality thing, it's a
just
really
a
well-oiled
yeah,
machine.
absolutely.
In a way that this generation of people who are in the industry are about. And I think in our parents' time, it just wasn't on their radar to do that, because it was a whole new world. Coming in from different countries, having weddings here and things like that, that's not really top of the priority list, is how seamless the whole thing is.
Exactly.
But you coming in from that corporate environment, seeing how it's a rhythm,
exactly,
right?
it's like literally like different teams. So you've got your sales team who take the inquiries. Then you have to go through contracting. Then you've got your commercials. Then you've got your planning teams. Then you've got your ops teams.
Yeah.
You've got your chefs. You've got to go through, your dietary requirements with chefs. When we had kosher meals, we had to order from external companies.
Yeah.
And it's like things that during a wedding, people think are like huge things, but when you're working corporate events, there's so much more to it.
Yeah.
The budgets are way higher. There's so much more involved, stakeholders involved as well.
Those are the simple things you just got to get right. Like, nobody expects you to get that wrong.
You cannot, exactly. There's no room for error there.
Yeah.
And then when you're doing things like exhibitions, you've got multiple companies coming in, setting up their stalls and things like that. So yeah, it was like, for me, it was just such great experience to learn it from a venue side of things. And I unfortunately then got made redundant during COVID, which for me was like, my whole world came crashing down. Like, I lost my dream job. I never knew how I was going to, recover from that. And even when COVID sort of started opening up again, I tried everything to get back into
that world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back into that world. But they just couldn't, A, match my salary, B, give me the role that I wanted anymore, just because they'd made so many cutbacks at the time. And that's when Prash, my husband, convinced me into doing my own thing.
So shout out to Prash.
Yeah.
But was it, having done what you were doing in your early 20s before you went corporate, were you so happy in corporate that at that time there was probably, you were actually like, do you know what, it's not even on my radar to go back into that?
No.
Or was it like, I'll do it way later, I'm just too happy right now?
Yeah, good question actually. I never left the wedding game.
Yeah.
So I would still do it whilst I was at Hilton. I would still do it, but like for close family and friends.
Yeah.
Like my brothers got married. I managed all my cousins' wedding events.
Yeah.
Family, friends.
You also got married in that time as well. So
Yeah.
you know, and you had a long drawn out COVID thing that you had to deal with, right?
So, you know, family and friends would then point me in direction of, oh, you know, we've got a friend getting married or we've got a cousin.
Oh, okay.
I do like 4 or 5 weddings a year. Nothing major.
Yeah.
You know, I used to charge £100 a wedding back then.
Yeah.
I did Jay Shetty's wedding.
Yeah.
2016.
And that was just through having mutuals or?
Through having mutuals, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So it was just, you know, I used to dip my toes into it, but I would still get my dose of weddings, but corporate was, you know, Hilton was my bread and butter.
That makes sense.
And then, so after COVID, Prash basically convinced me to open up my own thing.
Yeah.
And it was funny because when we thought about Styled by Shaileeni, I actually wanted to go down the route of gifting and...
Yeah, I was going to say the name.
Yes.
It's not the most event-driven name.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's got a good ring to it.
Yes.
But the reason why I launched Styled by Shaileeni was more of a gifting, you know, contemporary charbs.
Okay.
That sort of thing, because I absolutely loved doing that.
Yeah.
For my own wedding, for other people's weddings, people would come to me for, you know, inventive gifting ways and, you know, going against the norms of like traditional...
Being a bit more creative and out of the box. Yeah.
And a little bit more contemporary with it.
Yeah.
And then I obviously got married and it was towards the end of COVID. And then my friend was getting married who also was a COVID bride. And she rescheduled her wedding from Kew Gardens to then do it in her garden.
Okay.
So she came over to collect a load of decor from me. So I've always been one to like do my own decor, love to go to India, buy everything and like decorate my house like for any event. And I just love it. So she came to pick up a load of decor from me. And then I was asking her questions like, oh, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you put your photo list together? What's happening during your turnaround? Because
stressing her out,
because
basically.
Well, not trying to stress her out, but just
those are the things you've got to do.
Understanding that your wedding's happening in your garden. Yeah. Your reception's also happening in your garden.
All the things you've got to think about.
And where are your guests going in between? Because your living room can't hold everyone.
Yeah.
What if it rains? All these things that she hadn't thought about. Yeah. And she was like... freaking out at that time, and she was like, should I have done this? And so I said to her, look, I'm going to be there on the day. Do you want me to help you? And she was like, would you mind? I was like, not at all. So I sat with her a couple of weeks beforehand. We sort of put those schedules together, put those timings together, put together a group photo list, and I basically coordinated for her on the day. Yeah. And from that wedding, she was my uni friend. Yeah. One of her school friends was getting married in December. So 3 months later.
It was just really organic.
And they were like to me, we just loved what you did.
Can you do it for us?
Can you do it for us? And so I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah. And then in my head, I was thinking, you know, my business wasn't really created to wedding plan or to coordinate. Yeah. But if people are asking for it, then...
make the pivot. Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? I'm not going to say no. And then from that wedding, there was 2 ladies there who one had a friend and one had a niece getting married. Yeah. So from one wedding, I think it was about 3 or 4 months later, I got the next wedding. Yeah. And then from there, it was another 3, 4 months later to the next wedding. Okay. And then 3 months became 2 months and it became 1 month.
And then it became
and then it just started rolling.
Yeah. Because I remember when it launched and you'd put it out on social media and it was like, cool. And then it was like, it felt in a very short space of time, that it snowballed into something way bigger. More than any of us probably thought it was going to do in that time.
Absolutely.
Right?
My first few posts were like gifting and styling. I deleted all of those posts. I was like, wait, this is not like, you know, sometimes they just say you've got to go with it, right?
100%.
Wherever the road takes you. Yeah. ride that wave.
Yeah, totally.
And I just had to ride that wave. I basically deleted all those posts.
And you're like, this is what we're doing now.
And I completely changed it. And I was like, okay, great. I'm going to be a wedding planner.
I think the good thing is that your name was in your brand, because actually most people, when they say who's their coordinator, they won't say SBS or Star by Shaileeni. They'll just say, I've got Shaileeni. Do you know Shaileeni? Oh yeah, you know what I mean? Like that's just ends up how, that's part of the whole thing. So that's probably a good part of the branding. Was there a moment where it probably got a bit overwhelming where you're like, okay, hold on, this is like every week or every month? Because weddings aren't seasonal anymore either. It's not like you're just doing this April to July, August.
No, not at all. Last year, my season started on the 2nd of February.
Jesus.
And it finished on the 21st of December.
That's crazy.
So...
Yeah. And I remember I used to hang out with you guys when you had like a free weekend.
Yeah.
It would be like, oh yeah, no, we've got that weekend in 3 months' time.
Yeah.
And it's like the one weekend I'm not working. And I'm like, that's wild. But you've got to, you got to take it on, right? That's how part
You've got
of
to ride the
business.
wave. I am very conscious of having a work-life balance.
Yeah.
And it's open. My clients know that. And I actually only take 3 to 4 weddings a month.
Yeah.
I don't book out every single weekend.
Yeah.
Just because, like I said, I value my personal time.
Yeah.
I value time with my family, with my friends. So yeah, I am quite strict with sort of my boundaries and my timings. But yeah, it just means that I can give a better quality as well to my clients.
Yeah, I think there's that high growth phase of a successful business, and then there's a bit where you go, okay, hold on, I've settled into what we do, how we do it. We want to just keep that quality the same and avoid burnout. And you've experienced burnout from those previous experiences. So you're like, I know what I'm looking out for.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see the signs and go, okay, cool, hold on, I think we're overdoing it. In terms of like now, where do you see it? Where do you see it going? Do you see it being something where you're like, we're going to bring in staff and we're going to have employees and we're going to do this, or we want to go do abroad weddings? Like, is that something that you've thought about as a business, or is it like, actually, we're really good at what we do and we're really busy doing it, so let's just carry on and keep at it? Like,
yeah, definitely. I have thought about a growth plan now because, I am one person in the business.
Yeah.
My team on the day can go up to 7 people.
Yeah.
But none of those staff are full-time with me.
No, yeah.
So my goal over the next year or 2 is to expand.
Okay.
Expand the team. First here, I like to look at myself as a UK specialist.
Yes. Okay.
I just feel like, I know the market here.
Yeah.
I understand the venues inside out. I have my relationships. I have my contacts. If something happens, I know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like abroad, I would...
Too many variables.
Yeah, there's A, too many variables, but B, I think I'd have to spend like a good 6 months learning a destination, the venues, the suppliers, what's doable, what's not doable before I could offer it out to clients.
Yeah.
Which just right now, I don't have the time to take 6 months out to do that.
Sorry. A lot of construction work going on outside. It's really annoying. Yeah.
So I just feel like at the moment, I'm quite happy in the UK.
Yeah.
I'm definitely busy enough, but as the team expands, never say never.
Yeah.
And one day we could see Style by Shaileeni going abroad.
In terms of the wedding industry, obviously this is more for couples, I would say, who are engaged or thinking about getting married, and it's about giving them like a step up in that process as well and what to look out for. In terms of what you do in wedding coordination, right? What are like the big things in terms of expectations the couple have, which is a real mismatch of the reality of what they're getting? Like, what I mean by that is, I speak to couples now who are engaged and they're like, oh mate, the wedding planner will deal with it. Oh no, the coordinator will deal with it. And I'm like, dude, like, you're one of X events they're doing, number one. Have you thought about what the actual remit of what they're doing is? Because I bet it won't be all of... They're not doing your seating plan for you because they're not going to know who the hell's sitting where. What would you say is, like, if you could give a couple of advice on, okay, hold on, man, like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do it really, really well. Here's where we're going to support you. And obviously we want to go the extra mile, but here's where there's a mismatch of expectations.
Yeah. So I'm super transparent with all my clients, whether I'm wedding planning or coordinating. I'm very transparent in terms of what my roles are and what your roles are.
Yeah.
some people say to me that we just want you to do everything and we don't want to get involved. So I will say to them, there are certain tasks, like your guest list and your seating plans that are a bare minimum, you know? I can't do those for you.
You don't know who they are.
I physically can't do those for you. And as a coordinator as well, it's very much laid out as to what the roles are. And I actually work, I'm a very process-driven person. So I work with a master document, which is an Excel doc, which basically is a template where they have to just fill in the blanks. So on our very first meeting, we go through that entire document. And it's very clear to see what responsibilities lie with me and what they then need to do and what they need to fill out. So I make it nice and easy for them, but it's still, they need to know that that's their responsibility, like their ceremony seating plans and, you know, collecting their dietary requirements. Some clients add on guest list management with me, which then I'll do that. You know, give me the email addresses, give me the contact details, but they still need to put that list together. Right?
You still got to put in something.
And then I can do it for them, or some clients have to do it themselves. So it's just being really transparent to like what my roles are, what your roles are, and how it's basically a collaboration to make it work. And I set deadlines, things need to be done on time. I work on a 4-week handover so that everything from their side is done 4 weeks prior to the event day. It just means they can sit back and relax. You know, they don't need a caterer chasing them to where their nut allergy is sitting, or, you know, how many tables are we having for lunch? All those logistics and that communication then lies with me from that 4-week point.
Have you found within all of that there is still a huge, like, they underestimate the details involved with the wedding, or do you try not to get him involved with the detail? Because I find by speaking to some people when I'm like, oh, this is what we did, or, you know, just with our UK stuff, like, here's what we thought about, or here's, and they're like, oh man, like that seems so detailed, like, and I'm like, but you, like the nut allergy example you just gave. People just assume you'll figure out, oh, that person's got a nut allergy and they're sitting in row whatever. But it's like, no, somebody's physically thought about how they're going to cater towards that individual.
Absolutely. And that's what that's why the first meeting with any client is always so detailed, because we go through each of the details and what we're going to sort of look at over the whole process. And some clients sit there and they're like, oh my God, that's so overwhelming. Like, we didn't realize there was so much to wedding planning. They were like, oh, we just thought we book our suppliers and it's all done.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then some people are like, oh, you know, that was really useful. Like, we'll go away and do it. It's totally fine. And then I get some clients who, like, I've got a wedding coming up on Saturday and they've still not filled out their document.
Oh my God. So, and is that stress then for you? Because you're like,
I'm trying to prepare
on that doc, right?
And, you know, prep my team and things like that. And I obviously don't do that one day before. I started, you know, a couple of weeks ago. And I've highlighted to them, you know, guys, this is missing on the document. Can we get it filled in? And I
think that's my one biggest piece of advice whenever I'm at anything like, you know, when musical movers do the Mr. and Mrs. and you're chatting to couples, they're like, oh, all my suppliers are booked. And I'm like, yeah, it means nothing, man. It's great, you know. I had my suppliers booked like a year before my wedding, and we both just thought, cool, we're done. And literally with each individual supplier comes the various meetings they're having with them on their stuff that they want. And I'm like, just leave me alone, man, you're booked. Like, you do a million of these, but actually it's so individual.
It's so individual. So what I actually have on my master document is a tab called Planning Actions.
Oh my God.
So this is something that I use for all my full planning clients, but if you book on the day coordination, you get access to that. And it's basically, you see it as a to-do list. So I tell all my clients, wedding planning is not rocket science.
No.
If you've booked in your suppliers, it's one half of the job. But then you don't need, you know, 5-10 meetings with each of your suppliers. Because if you have 1 or 2 meetings and you're efficient during those meetings,
it's true.
You know, you've asked the right questions, you've chosen the right things, you know, you've started thinking about your music, not 1 month before your event. You know, you think about those things beforehand.
Way before,
Then you're just done, because you can be really efficient. You just tick it all off on the list. Fill in what you need to fill in. Like, sometimes food might take a little bit longer because you need a couple of food tastings, or you may have not settled on the exact, you know, cuisine or items, etc. But that all happens, you know, way in advance. things that can be done easily, like your music choices or, you know, your seating plans.
Quick wins.
Quick wins, like start grouping like your closest friends and family just into tens.
Yeah.
Whether you then use it or don't use it, but you've got groups of 10
Yeah.
and then it's just easy to then maneuver them around.
Yeah.
You know the core sort of 50 to 100 people that are coming to your wedding.
It's a lot of nudging along, right?
Yeah.
You're just really pushing people along.
And that's what happens with
Yeah.
each of my meetings. So like, let's say with an on-the-day coordination, you do the initial meeting, you go through the whole document, you say, right, you go away and get on with it. I'll do what I need to do. We'll touch base in a couple of months. We then touch base in a couple of months and we're like, right, what's been completed? Where are you at?
Yeah.
What conversations have you had with each of your suppliers? So although I'm on the day coordinating,
Yeah.
I'm also checking in on
But you're
them
still checking in on that.
very regularly.
Well, that was going to be my next question is, people don't often understand the difference between full planning
Yes.
and wedding coordination.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's come up over doing these episodes is this is the one industry, I mean, I'm sure there's others, but there's the one industry where people really negotiate and people really expect you to do more than what they've signed you on for.
Yeah.
So I am 100% sure you've got people signed on for on-the-day coordination that then expect you to do a bunch of planning stuff for them. Like,
Yeah.
And then you're like trying to have an awkward conversation with them. Talk to me about the difference, and actually, can we talk about why X couple is actually better suited to having coordination, and why this couple might necessarily actually no, you should go for full planning.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people often understand the difference.
So I explain it really simply when clients ask me that question, or they're sort of umming and ahhing on to which package they want to go with.
Yeah.
So I basically say it's very similar. The key difference is when I'm your wedding planner, I do all the actions for you. When I'm your coordinator, you go away and do all your actions and then you tell me the answers.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, fine.
Yeah. So you go away, you do all the groundwork, you do your sourcing of your suppliers.
So they book the suppliers. Yeah.
Whereas as a planner, I would do all of that for you.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. So that's the key difference.
Yeah.
Going to your question on which client would be better for a planning or coordination, it's a very process-driven thing.
Yeah.
And if you're following a process, the template's there to help you, you can do it. But for the full planning clients, it's for those who, don't have the time.
Yeah.
They have stressful jobs. Wedding planning is a full-time job in itself.
Yeah.
Right? You need time in the day. People that don't work from home, they're in the office, they can't take calls, they can't do meetings, they just don't physically have the time to do that, and they don't want to spend their weekends doing it all.
No.
Which is why they get a wedding planner.
Yeah.
People that lack organization or creativity.
Yeah.
Some people are just not, they're just not apt
They've
to
just
do
not
it.
got that
They've
thing,
just not got it, They may be great at what they do in their job,
Yeah.
but they're just not creative. They don't have the ideas. They don't know where to go. And then the other clients for planning are people that have not had weddings in their family.
Yeah.
I have a lot of clients that I do full planning for that have never had a wedding in the family, so they actually don't know
what it's like to be on the ground.
They don't know where to start. We come from families where we've had so many weddings.
Yeah.
We use our photographers that our cousins had, or we use the priests that our brothers had.
And you just bank on other people's
and
stuff.
it's just because we've got that knowledge. We've been to so many weddings.
Yeah.
For some people, for some of my clients, it's actually like one of the first Hindu weddings that they're going
That's
to.
crazy.
So you've got to understand that not everyone's been
it's
raised.
a new market. Yeah.
It's not everyone's been raised like we have. So that's where I think full planning, and another big part of what I do is actually clients coming from abroad and getting married in the UK.
Oh wow. Okay,
So a lot of each year I do sort of one or two big weddings.
Yeah.
And they're actually been for clients outside of the UK. So they obviously need a planner because they're not on the ground here.
And how do they find you? Social media?
Social media,
Okay,
or
fine.
by recommendation of someone, either a supplier or like a contact they have here already.
Okay, fine. And dealing with a client that's from another country, what about the challenges involved with that? Because I imagine if they're not from Europe, there's a lot of figuring out time difference. But actually more than that, culturally, I find people from India, for example, things that work in India don't work here. And I think I was talking to you about this, where I've had to do a few weddings for families from abroad, and they want games, and they want I've had a lot of that recently as well, where they're like, oh, can you do these games at the reception?
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, like we're at a London event, black tie. People don't want games, but their crowd love it.
Yeah.
And then all you see on social media, and you're like, this looked amazing. And then actually here, culturally, does not fit.
Very different.
It's so different.
Very
How
different.
do you find that?
Yeah, it's been a learning curve,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
I've done a couple of weddings for clients from India, and their expectations are just very, very different.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, you sign up for one thing, but they want everything
they want
else.
everything, yeah.
Thanks to my project management dad, I have a scope of work and make sure it's, all outlined,
all
and
there.
anything that's above and beyond that, it's obviously, you've got to be transparent with it. I had an instance where, bad weather, obviously we don't have the luxury of weather on our side in the UK.
No.
And they thought that one day before, if we needed to put marquee up, we could put marquee up.
In India, easily.
Exactly. And I had to explain to them that this is not India.
No.
We're in the middle of Windsor.
Yeah.
And if we need to put a marquee up, we need to book this prior.
Yeah.
And if we don't use it, we're still going to have to pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they just could not fathom that.
Yeah. I get it though. I get it. Yeah,
and I was just like, it just doesn't work like that here. It just
no.
doesn't work like that. And it was challenging to make them, explain certain things. Timings don't run to schedule. We in the UK are conditioned in a way that if you're invited for a drinks reception at 6 p.m, you're not turning up at 9 p.m.
No.
Yeah. Like at most 6:30, 7 o'clock.
You come within a half
and the
an hour
reason
window.
why you have the drinks and canapes is to allow for those late comers as well.
Yeah.
But sense of timing is very different. I actually did a wedding earlier this year.
Can't come at 9 o'clock.
For clients, family, the majority of the family had come from India and Mumbai, and everything ran to clockwork. I think they were so afraid. The parents had, told all their, it was a much more intimate affair, but they told all the guests, like, you guys need to be on time. Like, we're in the UK. I told them at every single meeting, like, my weddings run like clockwork. Right? If not ahead of schedule. So we need to ensure that all your guests are on time. And actually, for the civil wedding, we gave them an earlier time, and they were all there earlier. And we actually had to hold them in the bus outside. Because we weren't quite ready with everything inside. That's crazy. Because the band were just doing like their final sound check.
They were actually early.
They were actually all early. And I was like, what are the chances? Like, all the guests.
It is wild.
All 3 coaches were there, lined up outside. But it was great.
Indian timing is a real thing. Like, especially like, we have really close family friends who live in India who came to our wedding. And even like, they were like, oh, Anuj, you should do this, and Anuj, you should do that. And it was all stuff to fill up time. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing any of that. They're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, it starts at 6. It will start at 6. Like, what? And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, trust me, when you come, it is literally like, things will start and you will have eaten at dinner time, not at 11. And they were like, okay, sure. And then they experience it like, it is not like this in India.
No,
but people come to things for the sake of it there as well. Like, there's just so many of it.
But I think it's also like how well it's communicated, right? So the family at this wedding were like really, really good at like explaining to all their guests.
So they bought into it as well.
Yeah, they bought into it because I think I was so strict about it. And they also had a lot of events.
Okay.
So they only had 3 days, and they had 7 events across 3 days. Okay. So we were like back to back. And I said to them, if you guys want to enjoy it and, get time to change and get time for your hair and makeup and get time to breathe, things have to run on time because, in this country as well, you can't just overrun and say, oh, my party's going to go on until 4 a.m. because it's music off by 1.
They'll kick you off,
Yeah, they'll kick you out, so...
And they don't realise, also, in India, you can pay someone maybe and solve the problem. Over here, it's like, no, I have a licence.
No means no, exactly.
And if my licence goes, I've lost the next X booking, so I don't care about yours. Like,
Exactly. So you've got to, I think it's all about prior preparation.
Yeah.
Anything can run smoothly with prior preparation. So, anyone involved in your ceremony, anyone involved in your group photos, anyone that has a role in the wedding, just let people know.
Yeah.
It's all about just being transparent with your guests, letting them know that, I always say on an invite, you should have breakfast being served at this time, John arrival being served at this time, ceremony starting at this time. Just because it gives people the option as well.
Yeah.
If you want to eat your own breakfast at home and
Then you know
be
I
on
have that
time for
leeway.
John arrival, you've got that leeway, right?
true.
And it's just being transparent with your guests, giving them an idea of what's happening on the day and allowing people to then either make that decision or if they're close family, being like, you must be here at this time. And then trusting,
let them figure it out. Yeah.
trusting that they, you know,
It's true.
respect that.
Have you had to deal with a lot of jumping into meetings with parents, or one side of the family could be really modern and then the other side of the family is super traditional? How do you balance that balancing act? Because I imagine that also comes up. I know that I've experienced it even as a host. I've had like traditional on one side and then really fun and quirky people on the other. And it's like, I don't know. You got to then figure out what lane I'm going to go down. You know what I mean? How do you find that? Because I imagine for couples dealing with it, they then also do pass a lot of that on to their wedding planner and coordinator to kind of go, oh, hold on, can you communicate that?
Yeah.
And we did that. We had Latoya, and Latoya would do a lot of that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not touching this.
Absolutely. I always feel like it's very different when it comes from a neutral person.
Yeah.
I experienced it myself as well, you know, through my own wedding planning.
Yeah.
And
Our side of the family is super traditional, and there's a lot of other things you've got to think about, and yours are way more relaxed and modern.
So you do have to be really conscious of things, but it's all about doing it in a way that you're not upsetting the other side.
Yes.
Right? At the end of the day, a wedding is the coming together of two families, and you want everyone to, you know, have an enjoyable day. I do get asked sometimes to, you know, join the priest meeting and, you know, have an opinion on swaying a certain,
really?
opinion.
Yeah.
Or explaining to one side why, you know, a certain ritual is not happening. Because the bride doesn't want it to. Or, you know, there's little things, but I think it's all just about how you communicate it over. You know, you don't want to step on anyone's toes, and you don't want to offend anyone in the process. It can be difficult. And on the day as well, you sometimes get some side of the family that are really, you know, oh, this, you know, my name's not on the reserved seating and I'm not at the front row. And I've had some like crazy guests, basically.
Yeah, 100%.
And you just have to, you know, manage it really calmly. I think
a lot of patience.
Yeah. A lot of patience, you know, find a solution. And if it means putting an extra chair for them at the front, if we can make it work, just keep them, you know, the last thing you want to do is create a scene at a wedding. And it's all about just staying calm and finding a solution, really. But yeah, we've had some crazy,
I'm sure you've had some.
We've had some crazy stories.
Interesting experiences. To be fair, I've seen some of it, and I'm like, it's difficult to stay patient and calm as well. But you are the voice of reason in that situation, so you've got no choice.
Absolutely.
How have you found? I mean, you've launched your business in the age of social media, but how have you found TikTok, Instagram, social media? How do you think that's changed the game, changed the industry? Not, you know, just South Asian weddings, but as a whole, I think couples have a lot more access to inspiration and things that they want. And I'm sure there's also a mismatch between what they think they can have because of they've seen it on social media versus what, you know, unfortunately, weddings as a whole are incredibly expensive all the way through. How have you found that, like the social media impact on the entire industry?
Absolutely. So I feel like with social media, it's been great for me because it's, I'd say, where I get 90% of my business from.
Wow.
I have a website. I don't think many people go to my website unless they, you know, want to formally inquire, which they've gone through my Instagram first.
Okay, yeah.
I regularly update my Instagram, thanks to Anya, Moments by Anya, shout out her, because I don't actually manage my own social media.
Oh, wow.
I tried. I'm not very good at it. I don't have the time to keep up with it. Being, you know, a director of a company, a wedding planner, a wedding coordinator, doing all my admin, doing all my meetings, and living life in general, there's no space for marketing
to manage
for me.
that part. Yeah, which is fair enough.
Anya manages that all for me.
Okay.
Obviously, we go through content plans, what we're going to post, if I need to give her a voiceover. I have a say in what goes up, but I sort of leave her to it, and she does a great job at it.
Okay, fine.
So in that sense, love social media.
Yeah.
I think it's also great for people that are, you know, looking for inspo, starting out. Now, you know, when you go to a post, lots of suppliers are tagged. You can go through, you know, one post, you can find photographers, you can find videographers.
You've got access to the information.
Yeah, you've got access to so much information at your fingertips that it's made wedding planning a lot easier and finding inspo a lot easier. I think where the con with social media comes in is that it's very, very glorified and it looks like everyone can have access to a wedding that is on social media. So I try to be real with my social media. You know, I'm not posting just my biggest weddings. I'm posting all my weddings, small weddings, big weddings, all the suppliers that I work with. You know, I work at some really, really big venues and I work at some really small venues. But I think each wedding is individual and it should be given the time of day that it deserves. But where sort of the problem lies is, like you said, where people think that, you know, they can have everything at a low budget. And I'm always very realistic with people. I ask them if they've inquired about full planning. The first question, one of the first questions that I'll ask them is, have you set out a budget for your event? If they have set out a budget, I'll tell them, you know, that's realistic or that's not realistic. At South Asian weddings, you know, food and drink are a very big part of it. And nowadays, a lot more expensive than people think. Labour costs have gone up, staffing costs, food costs, ingredients, everything's gone up.
And people don't realise the inflation you're seeing in real life applies to the same industry.
Exactly.
Like, it's still food, it's still drink, it's still labour.
So when people give me an unrealistic budget for their guest numbers, I will say to them that obviously you need to make sure that your food quality and your drink quality is not being, you know, compromised.
Diminished as a result.
Because otherwise it will, and that's where you have a problem. Everything else is secondary. Literally everything else is secondary.
But that was going to be my next question for you specifically is, all right, these are your must-haves. Do not screw these things up. And these are your nice-to-haves. Like, if you want to do them and invest the time and the money in them, great, because you've got the budget. But here are the things you can't get wrong. And here are the things that actually, they're nice to have because they're going to enhance your event, obviously, but they're not going to be the things that people talk about. And so don't worry. I find that people get stressed, like, this person had that, and this person had this, and I saw this, and you want to compare and contrast. You know,
I think the list is very small.
Food and drink for me.
Food and drink is everything, and it always comes top. The next I would say is priest.
Okay, interesting. Okay, I was going to say DJ. But I am doing this with Association with Musical Movements.
So the next for me is priest. They can make or break your day.
I agree.
Because when you hand over to a priest, when we hand over to a priest, we are completely out of control.
It's their game.
And everyone is completely out of control. And I've had some priests who I've worked with in the past that I will not name and shame and I will not work with again. But they've just not made the whole day enjoyable. But for the bride and groom, like, I can deal with it as a supplier. But for the bride and groom, it's just not nice. So choose your priest wisely.
In terms of they've been not easy to deal with, or they make the wedding about themselves, because there are priests that do that.
Both. Both of those things, and just, you know, very obnoxious on the microphone. Just saying things that they just should not be saying. And it's just very awkward for everyone sitting in the room. And you just don't want to remember that on your
And it's also 2025, and it was a big thing for us when we were getting married. Like, you know, we had Jaded, who was just an absolute dream. And him being so young was super, everybody enjoyed it, listening to him. He made it really engaging. But Shreya, I said to Shreya, you can go to town in terms of your questions and he can handle it. And when we had a meeting, she was like, why are we doing the Kanyadan? And why have we got to do this? And I think this is sexist. And I think, you know, and I was like, you do you, right? And he just handled everything like a champ, going, I get it. You know, I have a sister, blah, blah, blah. And it made she then let go of all of that stuff that was winding her up. And she was like, okay, I kind of get it. And I kind of like the compromise he's going to make for me. But then there are ones who are just going to be like, you need to do this. And, you know, or like, the one I always love is the washing the dishes. Whoever, you know, she's going to wash the dishes and he's going to go to work. And I still sometimes see that and I'm like, oh man, no. Like, you know.
It's just it's just not called for. And I think that they do need to adapt and, you know that we are, you know, we're a different generation now. It's very different to like when our parents got married And then the next thing, I would say is your DJ or entertainment. Like whatever
Yeah.
you choose to do, just make sure it's the right thing for you, because not everyone's into a DJ, not everyone's into a band. Like whatever it is that you choose, it's got to be the right thing for you so that you guys can have a good time, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing I find is that the comparison game, I find in the end, nobody cares. I personally think, because I think what people will talk about are the things that you did wrong if you got those 3 or 4 things wrong. Like if the food and the booze was rubbish and the priest was whatever the priest did wrong, and then you had a really horrible DJ who really didn't read the room, like you've not really gotten the fundamentals right.
Exactly.
And people are only really going to talk about it long term if you got those things wrong.
Yeah.
If you got those things right, again, people aren't going to talk about it, but that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Like you don't really, I don't remember the decor at X person's wedding. And I'm saying this having had this, we did this whole big thing, and I actually now look back and I go, nobody remembers. I know, like, who cares?
I do. I remember.
Okay, yeah. Ours was a bit over the top, but do you know what I mean? Like, in the end, I don't think those are the things that people would have. I think people take more away from. We had an abroad wedding, so that pool party where everybody got to play games. Like, I think more people remember that when I meet them than, or in our case, the after parties. But more people remember that than the chandeliers or the dance floor, and that's what I'm trying to also like convey is.
I get that, but I always say to my clients that there's certain elements of suppliers in the planning process that are for your guests.
And then there's things
and
for
there's
you.
certain things that you do for you, right?
Yeah.
So the decor, you're not doing it for everyone else.
Yeah, it's for you.
Right?
Yeah,
You're doing it for you, and you're
yeah.
doing it for your pictures.
Yeah.
And you're doing it for those memories.
And then you've got that forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That are going to be forever, where the food doesn't last forever.
No.
But it's a moment on the lips that auntie is going to remember forever if
true.
it's too salty or if it's too hot.
Yeah.
You know, if the temperature's not right and they're being served cold dar, it's like the worst thing in the world,
God, yeah.
right? So it's that sort of what's for the guests and what's for you.
That's really interesting. I've never heard anybody phrase it quite like that, but it makes total sense.
Yeah. And I go through with all my planning clients, I have what's called a budget management program.
Yeah. So technical. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So on the budget management, we always prioritize in order of importance.
Okay.
So, you know, what's the must-haves, what's the nice-to-haves,
yeah.
depending on the venue, that will depend, like also impact your decor budget. Is it a venue that's so beautiful, you don't need a lot,
Yeah,
you know,
true.
you can get by with being super minimalistic, or actually are you going for a slightly cheaper venue that's more of a blank canvas and actually needs a lot more dressing up?
Yeah.
Right? So you've got to look at things like people say, oh, how much am I going to spend on a wedding? Like it could be their first
it is
question.
really
And I'm like,
different,
it's so individual because it's based on your venue. You can get venues from literally 7K to like 70K.
Yeah.
And the difference is wild.
Really? Yeah.
Like in terms of like money.
Yeah.
And they can do the exact same capacity.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. So it's where you want to put your money. Like how important is the location of the venue, or you know what the venue has
Some
in terms
people
of
look at the
characteristics.
prestige of the venue. Yeah.
You know, does it have grounds? Does it not have grounds? Does it have a nice car park? Toilets, also a very big thing.
Yeah.
Some people are booking venues and not even looking at the bathrooms. And the bathrooms are such a letdown to the venue.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you don't care. But as a girl, I care when I go to the bathroom.
I don't even notice or think about it. Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah, so there's so much to think about when, you know, just saying, oh, what is the budget for the wedding? Like, I will never ask someone, what is your budget? Have you thought about a, you know, rough budget in mind? This is if they've chosen a venue already, or are you going to see how it goes? You know, you might look at 5 venues and they're all going to be of a different budget. Like, it's wild now how different budgets can be when it comes to venues. So will you then sort of look at budgets after you've made a decision on the venue? Because will that determine how much you spend on everything else? Or
it's a puzzle though, right?
Yeah.
And it's just constantly ebbing and flowing in terms of you might make a cost saving there and go, great.
Yeah.
Bang, I'm investing that.
And some clients, like you say, you know, you might get get a bride who's obsessed with decor. She wants to go all out, you know, she wants the most stunning, something super unique, something so different. Yeah. And in which case decor then takes a
it
much
takes
higher
precedent
priority.
over everything. Yeah, totally.
Right? So decor then gets bumped up the list. However, someone might say, you know, I'm not fussed on decor, but I want the best band in the country. In which case, okay, that's going to take precedence. So it's all about individual
What are
needs
your
and
priorities,
wants.
right?
Exactly.
And then make sure those come first. We're going to be wrapping up soon. One of the two things I'm going to ask before we're done is, the first one is, what is your number one piece of advice to a couple who are planning a wedding that you would want to give them?
Be organised.
Okay.
Be organised and stay on track.
Be organised.
It will help you in so many ways, shape and form. Just because if they're organised, they stay on track, even if they do like an hour a week or they block out, you know, one day a month where they're just going to knock through all their wedmen, it's just so much easier to get things done early, everything you can do, and then identify what needs to be done nearer the time. And if you just follow that process, like I said, wedding planning is not rocket science.
And there is a science to it. There is a process, right? But actually, no, I've got one more thing I want to ask, actually. What trends are you seeing in 2025? Because there was that whole post-COVID era. So even just in one sense, bookings, we found that people were booking way in advance because there was that post-COVID, like, 2-year wait list sometimes for venues and things like that. And what we've seen this year is there's a lot more last minute, like.
Yes, so much.
And have you found that same thing?
Yeah.
So there's that. And what other trends are you seeing in 2025 in terms of what people are doing, whether it's with decor or, like, it's always ebbing and flowing, things are always moving in a certain direction. What have you found in the weddings?
I think I've been seeing a lot more staycation weddings.
Yeah.
So staycation weddings are definitely more of a thing now.
Yeah.
You know, people are discovering venues where staycations are, you know, more possible. Being able to, you know, do multiple day events all under one roof, which is giving that destination vibe without having to...
Which is what people want.
...take everyone abroad.
Yeah.
Which is great. So definitely seeing more of that, 2025, 2026. And more intimate weddings.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely seeing more intimate weddings. I feel like COVID, like, allowed intimate weddings. And then I feel like for the next few years... they were big, big, big. And now, like, I don't think I'm doing a wedding this year which has 400 people.
Wow.
Like, not at all.
Wow.
They're all like...
That whole numbers thing is just a real, like... It's a real... I don't know how you're supposed to manage that thing. Like, we were lucky. We just had our one event where it was like... Well, we had like our London events, bang, here. Like, you know, my son had like 600 people.
Yeah.
Brilliant, done. And then... abroad was 200, and I think more and more people, I mean, even parents, they don't want to admit it, but even they're like, yeah, we'd rather have less people.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point?
I think it's just getting to a point now. I actually think that, I don't know if it's controversial to say this, but the age of brides and grooms getting married are getting a little bit older.
Yeah.
And I've seen that shift. And I feel like when brides and grooms are slightly younger, parents have a lot more of a say in things. Whereas
Latoya said the same thing.
Yeah. Whereas now brides and grooms are getting a little bit older. They're taking a bit more autonomy on their decisions. A lot of brides and grooms are paying for their own weddings. So actually, they don't need to have all those hundreds of aunties and uncles that
Opinions.
They don't know.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So I think that's where, like, the shift is happening.
Latoya said the same thing, actually. She said that she's noticed that it used to be she dealt with a lot of 24, 25, 26-year-olds, and now she's dealing with more like 28, 29, 30. And you're just a bit more experienced in life, you've lived after a little bit longer, and your parents also have a level of, like, you do what you want to do.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. And the last thing is, what is your favorite thing about doing what you do and being in the industry that you're in?
I honestly think it's like, I think I say this every time, but it's like the buzz it gives me on the day.
Yeah.
Like, I did a wedding last week, and, like, we just become so close to the family. Like, we feel like we're part of the family.
Yeah.
I've had, you know, brides turn friends. I get invited to dinners at their like homes after.
That's so sweet.
And I genuinely feel like they're such a big part of my life and I'm such a big part of their life.
Yeah.
And just seeing them like happy on the day and enjoy and being able to take that stress away from the entire family for
So they
me
can
is like
enjoy it.
just so rewarding.
Yeah.
And I think it's at the end of the day when we go and say bye to everyone and they're just like, no, don't leave, like stay, have fun.
Yeah.
And we've been like working since 7 a.m.
You're knackered.
And we're knackered by that point. And to be fair, I'd love to stay and party, and sometimes I do.
Yeah.
But you know, when you've got to drive like an hour and a half, 2 hours home, and then it's a bit of a struggle. But I think the best thing is just that feeling on the day.
Yeah.
Is just so rewarding.
When you're in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
You can't.
No, it's
You
true.
can't compare it to anything.
I agree. I think when you're at a wedding, like for me, even hosting, when you're there and it hits and what you're saying is registering and you can see the crowd having fun and you can see the bride and groom enjoy themselves, you're like, oh man, this is
Someone said
worth
this to me, actually. It was an uncle at a wedding.
Yeah.
And he goes to me, he was like, how lucky are you that you get to go to work and you're just surrounded by love?
it. That's really deep.
And
Yeah,
I was just
but it's
like,
true.
it's actually so true that like every day I go to work,
Yeah.
I am just surrounded by so much love in one
That's
room.
true. Yeah.
And it's just amazing. And like, you really feel that, like,
You do.
feel that energy, right? It's like, you know, sometimes like, I remember like going into the office and just feeling like rubbish and tired, or, you know, I've not had a good night's sleep, or I've been out the night before. And it's just like, you know, you have a bad day at work.
Yeah.
But like, when you work a wedding, you don't have a bad day.
No, it's true.
Yeah, I've never had a bad day at work.
Really?
I've never had a bad day at work. I think I could, in my
Bad moments, but no, not a bad day.
not a bad day, no.
Wow.
I think like in my 4 years of work, I've had one wedding that I've walked away from, like not feeling good.
Wow.
And it's, in 4 years, it's just one wedding that I've walked.
That's a pretty good rate. I'll take that all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's true, to be fair. And everybody there is having fun and they're there because they want to be there, and the people getting married mean something to them. So there's just a lot of good energy.
Good energy.
And you get to be around that.
And you get,
really deep.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time today. I
Thank
really
you
appreciate
so
it. I hope it was fun.
It was so fun.
Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. We're done.